Is what's good or evil just a matter of taste? Let's consider. Hello, philosophers. I'm Chico. Welcome to the Philosopher's Show, where we consider the greatest questions of human history. So far, the only ethical system that I've covered has been cultural relativism. And that is to say that something is good is to say that it is accepted by the culture. Now, one problem we saw with that was that there can be some pretty hideous culture. So, for example, imagine you go to a high school where it is culturally acceptable for men to abuse women. And take your pick on what kind of abuse, emotional or physical or sexual, whichever one you find the more plausible. The men in this fictitious high school think that's how you keep a woman in line, and the women think that's what makes a man manly. So they just sort of accept this kind of abusive culture. And let's say you go around trying to change things, right? You see that and you think that can't be right, so we got to change things. Well, on cultural relativism, you're doing the wrong thing. The right thing to do is whatever the culture says so, and you are going against the culture, so you trying to change that culture of abuse is doing the wrong thing. In other words, cultural relativism left no room for the individual to stand out morally from the crowd. The view we'll look at today is called ethical subjectivism, which you could look at as sort of a cure for that ailment. And this says that what is good is relative to each subject. So when we say something is like, or what's wrong. So if I say like murder is wrong, that would be an invalid statement. What you would have to say is murder is wrong for John. Murder is wrong for Susan, something like that. So morality is determined by the individual. How so? There are a number of possibilities. One way could be just taste. So to say that it is, let's say, bad for you to torture babies for fun is just to say that you don't like torturing babies for fun. And I think I said this in a previous video. I did not come up with that example, by the way. That's a famous one, or infamous one. It's one that we can all agree on, that you shouldn't torture babies for fun. So yeah, it could be the case that it's just a matter of taste. It could be the case that it's a matter of choice. So to say that torturing babies for fun is wrong is the same thing as to say I choose to make torturing babies for fun wrong. Or it could be just a matter of belief. So to say torturing babies for fun is wrong is the same thing as saying I believe torturing babies for fun is wrong. Now, why would we want to believe such an ethical system? Well, one reason might be because it allows us for an element of moral maturity. So imagine that everybody at some point has wanted to hurt somebody, right? Like there's been some point where someone has been so obnoxious that you've wanted to punch them in the face or done something to hurt them. And you may have held back, you may not have. Let's say that you're in front of somebody that's so just outrageously obnoxious that you have this desire to punch that person. And let's say you could even get away with it and you would not be harmed if you did so. I don't know why. Let's say that you would be sucker punching this person and no one would see it and you could walk away happy. What is the morally mature thing to do? Well, the morally immature thing to do would be just to punch the person. The morally mature thing to do would be not to harm the person, no matter how obnoxious they were. And could you do what's morally mature if you didn't have the freedom to do so? It seems like in order to have the freedom to do so, you need to be able to have this choice. And ethical subjectivism gives you this kind of a choice, gives you the choice between your ethics. You can choose to have an ethic where punching people that are obnoxious is the wrong thing, and therefore, you just don't do it. So it might be the case that in order for us to be morally mature, we need this kind of a freedom. Personally, I don't think this is a good argument. I think this is a confusion. I think it confuses the freedom of choice of action with the freedom of choice of an ethical system. What do I mean by this? Let's say you are choosing between ethical systems. Is there a right ethical system? No. There's just the ethical system that you happen to have on subjectivism, right? So I'm not saying that that's true, that there is no correct ethical system. I'm saying on subjectivism, it's just whatever your taste is or whatever you choose to believe or something like that. So there's no correct moral system. That means that there is no right system to choose. So to say somebody is morally mature is to say that they choose the right thing. But you can't say you're morally mature for choosing the right system when there is no right system. You might say that within the system, you are morally mature for choosing whatever is right in the system. But if the system says to punch somebody that's obnoxious, then you're morally mature for punching the person that's obnoxious. So I think this confuses the two kinds of freedoms. I think the freedom to choose between ethical systems doesn't leave you any kind of room for maturity. I think it's the freedom to choose within the ethical system. That's the kind of maturity that we're talking about. So if there is an ethical system that is not dependent upon the subjective, right? If there is an objective ethical system, you can be just as mature so long as you have the freedom to choose your actions, and you choose your actions in accordance with whatever the objective morality is. A second reason you might choose this ethical system is because it seems like the word good and the word like are interchangeable. To say, let's say, for example, ice cream is good is the same thing as saying I like ice cream. So why not just say that the two things mean the same thing? This argument seems to make the word good mean only one thing, when it seems like the word good is actually an analogical term. It can mean many different things that are very similar or related. So, for example, I say broccoli is good. That doesn't mean I like broccoli, right? The two are not synonymous. It means that broccoli is healthy and health is good. So it might be that I like health, right? But when I say that, no, of course I like health. But when I say something like feeding the poor is good, does that mean I like feeding the poor? Not necessarily. I just think it's the right thing to do. So when I'm saying something is good, that doesn't necessarily mean that I like that thing. They're not necessarily synonymous. A third reason that people give for this ethical system is that what we like tend to correspond with what is good, so we may as well identify the two. So this isn't exactly saying that the two terms are synonymous, but it's saying that they're close enough, right? The things that we like happen to be the things that are morally good. And I don't know, the person that gives this kind of an argument, I think just doesn't know human people. You know what I mean? Like, there are plenty of things that I like that are not the right thing, that I do not think are good. And I think there are a lot of people out there that are the same way, that, we like things and we think that they're morally wrong, and we can't help but like them anyway. If you want to put in the language of maturity, you could say that there are plenty of morally immature people, right? People that like things that they shouldn't really like. For example, some people like hurting other people, and probably those people don't think it's good to hurt others. They just like it. A final reason we could give, and I'm not sure how well this is going to go over because things have really changed over the years. So people of my generation would have liked the fact that this promotes tolerance. And I think with the younger generation now, tolerance is not so much of a virtue anymore. I think now people are saying that, no, when people disagree with us morally, they're just wrong and we should treat them as wrong. Whereas in my generation, a lot of people were like, if people disagree with you morally, we don't want to say that they're wrong, right? We want to just let them have their own morality, and we have our own morality, and like never the twain shall meet. But I think things have changed a lot. But in any case, if you're my era, then you might think, well, I like this system because it's morally tolerant. If you think about, let's say, a system, an ethical system where burqas are forced on women, like they have to wear burqas whether or not they want to, versus a system where women sunbathe topless, like in Europe. And you compare the two to, let's say, like in the United States, where the one seems morally reprehensible because it seems to be curtailing the freedoms of women, and the other seems morally reprehensible because it's too much freedom. The nice thing about cultural relativism would be that we could say, hey, like, you guys do your own thing, we'll do our thing, at least if you're into tolerance, right? And if we may have lost that if we lost cultural relativism, but in subjectivism, we can say, yeah, well, you can have your own ethical system. I'll have my own ethical system. Yours might coincide with your culture. It might not. Whatever you want to do is your thing. I think one of the big drawbacks to this view, and probably one of the reasons why it's no longer seen as a virtue, is that it is an appeal to a morally objective idea. It's appealing to the fact that tolerance is a good thing, but good in whose system, right? If subjectivism is true, then to say tolerance is good is just to say, I like tolerance. Well, so what? People like all kinds of things. So is this system better for being a tolerant system? No, it's not better nor worse, right? This argument wouldn't work. This argument wouldn't give you some kind of benefit. It would just point out something. Maybe you like tolerance and maybe you don't. There are plenty of people today that do not want to tolerate difference in moral opinion or difference in political opinion especially. So if subjectivism is true, then this argument loses all of its force. Now let's look at some objections to this view. So the first one, I think, that is the most obvious, probably jumped out to you at first, was that we can like things that are not good. So for example, somebody could like smoking, and smoking is not a good thing for you. So to say I like smoking is not the same thing as saying smoking is good. A possible response to this would be to say that you're confusing the liking of the consequences with the liking of the immediate satisfaction. And so to say smoking is good is true in a way when you mean I like the immediate satisfaction, but it's false when you're saying I like the cancer that I get from it. One thing I think this shows is that the words I like do not map on to the words it is good. So when I say it's good, it's not just a simple and easy translate that to I like. Right there, the word good can have a lot more nuance than the word like can have. So at the very least, it shows that the two are not synonymous. Another objection you might have had is that it sure seems like I'm not saying I like something when I'm saying that it's good. So let's say I say murder is bad. Am I just saying that I don't like murder? No, it seems like I'm making an objective claim about reality, right? It seems like I'm saying that murder is the wrong thing to do regardless of whether somebody likes it or not. So it doesn't seem like I'm just telling you my personal preferences. A response that these philosophers give is to say that what you're doing is you're objectifying the subjective when you do that, when you say something is wrong. And it's a similar way as when you say something is funny. So let's say you say Eddie Murphy is funny. If I say Eddie Murphy is funny, what I really mean is that Eddie Murphy strikes me as funny, right? I'm not saying that Eddie Murphy is objectively funny or not funny. I'm having a subjective experience of funniness. But when I claim something about it, I say Eddie Murphy is funny as if it were objective. So when I'm saying something is good, I'm doing the same kind of thing. What we're really doing is having a subjective experience of liking or not liking the thing, but I objectify that subjective experience by saying that thing is good. The same way that I did by saying Eddie Murphy is funny. Now, that's a possibility. Whether that is actually what's happening is something for you to determine, right? It's do you think that you're doing the exact same thing with the word funny that you're doing with the word good? When you say murder is wrong, do you think that's just a subjective experience that you're objectifying, or are you actually reporting that murder is wrong? A third objection we can give is that it assumes that something is good because somebody likes it, but people can like morally deplorable things. In other words, this fails the Hitler test. Hitler liked the power he had, starting wars and committing genocide. That would mean that it's good to commit genocide and to start wars, which seems totally wrong, right? That's the Hitler test that we talked about. A fourth objection, this makes what's right or wrong depend upon my personal preferences, but are those the best things? Are they always rational and well chosen and well informed? Seems not. For example, when I was in college, a friend of mine was dating this girl, and she broke up with him and started dating a guy named Chad. And after that, we started just calling everybody that was a nerd Chads, right? That guy's a Chad. And in my mind, the idea of a dork was associated with the name Chad. So when I would meet guys named Chad, I'd have to be like, no. In my mind, I'd have to do this. I'd have to say, no, this guy is not a dork, just because his name is Chad. It was dumb, but right off the bat, I would not like a person named Chad. But that's so stupid. But that was my personal preference was not well informed, right? It was based on something dumb. Is that what we want to build our morality on? Something like that? That seems totally unreliable. A fifth objection, let's say your child starts torturing the cat. And let's say your kid just enjoys it. What do you do? Well, if moral subjectivism is true, then the statement torturing the cat is bad just means I don't like torturing the cat. But your kid does like torturing the cat. So really, what the kid should be saying is torturing the cat is good. That seems crazy, right? Seems like a kid is always going to just have the moral system that do whatever you like, right? Do whatever feels good at the time. That's why they eat so much candy till they puke. And that's why they will want to play video games until they're sick, right? They're going to just do stuff like that. So it seems like it is a parent's job to morally educate a child. And yet, if subjectivism is true, it seems like moral education is impossible. The morality is just whatever you have, right? There is no right or wrong morality. There's just the morality that you have at the moment right now. And if that morality happens to be do whatever you feel like doing, then that's the right thing to do. Really, it turns out that ethical subjectivism or moral subjectivism is really low-hanging fruit, right? It's not very philosophically robust of a system. The reason I cover it is because people of my era, a lot of them believed in it and just imbibed it. But like I said, I don't think today's youth is really following along with it. I think they're more of the opinion that, I think they're much more of my morality is right and everybody else's is wrong, and there's no room for debate. So I don't think that this view is really a threat anymore. However, there is an adjustment that you can make to this view that makes it a lot more plausible, and that's the ideal observer view. And we'll look at that in the next video. So let me know if you have any questions. Please don't forget to share this video, like and subscribe, and comment, and I will see you guys in the next video. Adios.